Good morning, everyone. Today is another episode of Arks Trash, which means it is an audio-only podcast. However, for my visual listeners out there, I have prepared some B-roll so that you can watch something while listening to the podcast. Now, today's special guest is GMCustom, also known as ExitLag. So I do make a couple blunders saying his name because I'm used to calling him GMCustom the entire time. But at the time of this recording, he was still called ExitLag. And a couple topics that we discussed in today's podcast was actually recorded like almost 4 weeks ago, like 3 weeks ago-ish. So there will be ideas and topics that we discuss in the podcast, which we now know the answers to. So just keep that in mind. But before we jump into the video, if you're new to the channel, I upload NGS content daily. So if you do play this game, I would really appreciate a subscribe, as it really helps out the channel. Anyway, without further ado, please enjoy the video. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Arks Trash. Today we have special guest GMCustom, now known as ExitLag. ExitLag, can you introduce yourself?
Hi. I'll probably change it back. But I've been playing and streaming PS2 ever since it came out in Japan, and we here today. 10th anniversary, yay, woohoo.
Heck yeah, true. So I need to ask GMCustom, what triggered the name change to EXE all of a sudden?
I didn't want... This has been for a while. I didn't want, like, At first, it's like, cool, it's a Gundam reference name and stuff like that. But, like, I didn't exactly want to have a name that's totally not mine, you know what I mean? Because that's, like, GMCustom is, like, it's a mobile suit from Gundam. So I was like thinking, for a long time I'm thinking like maybe, you know, eventually I'll change that because that's not really mine, I guess you could say.
I don't know. I kind of disagree, to be honest, because I've known you all this time as GMCustom. It's kind of like my name, right? My name Keroppi isn't actually mine either, because it's like the frog, right? From the Hello Kitty series, right? But when people think of Keroppi, they think of me now, you know? It's kind of the same deal with your name.
See, that's kind of why I'll probably go back.
Yeah, I feel like GMCustom rolls off the tongue a little bit better. ExitLag kind of, I have to stop and think for a second.
Yeah, exactly. People still call me anyway, so it's like, okay.
Yeah, exactly. I still call you GMCustom as well, because ExitLag just sounds weird. Usually EXE's at the end of a thing, right? As like an executable or something. Anyway. Let's start talking about some PSO2 stuff. So, how has it been for you? Like, are you enjoying the first year anniversary, or what have you been up to recently?
Still playing, like, both base PSO2 and New Genesis. I like the new limited quest a lot, but people don't want to do it because I think people just want to farm Captain. But I think overall it's a pretty nice quest. I mean, you fight a bunch of bosses, like, that's cool.
Have you found all the different Easter eggs in that limited time quest?
I haven't really done it that much.
Okay, there's quite a lot of Easter eggs that I never even noticed until I think Koichi made a video about it, and then I realized all the little Easter eggs. Like, you know when you spawn in the waiting room, if you put your camera to like a 180-degree angle, like from the top to down, you see the 1 year anniversary thing for the. I didn't know that. And then the other thing about like how you fight Bujin as well as Kilkundo is like a send-off of like, yo, you know, the new classes we released in NGS were the Braver as well as the Bouncer. And then, there's just a lot of really funky Easter eggs there that I didn't even know until I saw Mark's video about it. And I was just like, oh, right, yeah, that is an Easter egg.
See, stuff like that's really cool.
Yeah, it is. I feel like they should add more things like that. Like when the Ratem region was introduced, remember when you climbed up to the top of the pyramid? You got like the little, was it that 4-bit, 3-bit, whatever, 2-bit type of music? It was like the OG Phantasy Star music. But I didn't get it because I've never played any of the OG Phantasy Stars. But, you know, I saw that Gemma was freaking out over that. I was just like, oh, you know, I guess that's a throwback type of thing. So that's pretty cool.
I would like to see stuff like that more often. A lot more little secrets. Because it's a big open world, so, you know, I think that's what really makes, like, these open worlds, like, really interesting and fun when they hide a lot of secrets.
Exactly, yeah. I definitely think that during the exploration zones, they can stuff a little bit more Easter eggs, more secrets, and, like, you know, hide stuff from the community and, like, you know, let them try to explore and find things out themselves. I think that's part of the wonder of PSO2 in general. I don't know if this is a thing in regular, like, Universe or Blaze Blue or whatever. Not Blaze Blue.
Blueburst?
Blueburst, right, yeah. So for the other Phantasy Stars, has it always been very community driven on finding out information, just like PSO2, like the base game?
Yes, definitely. They don't explain too much, and yeah, they generally will leave the players to find stuff out about, you know, like specifics or like game mechanic stuff.
I think that is probably part of like the culture of PSO2 or just Phantasy Star in general, because recently with the new captain mobs, like a lot of people have been trying to figure out what is the best way to farm for these captain mobs, and immediately the JP side, as well as I believe on the global side, Nompon was probably the first one that made a video about it, talking about how to just room swap constantly in combat zones to get the captain spawn to, well, the captain mob to spawn as quickly as possible. And it just feels like we're going back in time with the base game, where we're just spamming, like, you know, advanced quest or whatever to get like a very special mob to spawn. No, actually, it reminds me of Time Attack to get abducted. Remember those abduction type of quests?
Yeah.
Yeah, it reminds me of that, where you're just spamming the same quest over and over, and you get abducted, and you're like, oh my god, oh, special loot, let's go. So, what have you been doing, you know, gameplay-wise recently? You been farming anything, or what's up?
Not really specifically. I think mainly just like getting like all the limited stuff done, trying to get all the Kavaris tickets.
How are you doing on that? Have you collected 19 of them yet, or like are you on like 10, or how's the progress?
I have about 10. I need to jump on a little more. I would like to farm a lot more points, so I'll probably do that today and stuff.
Are you farming like rank 1 zones just to get them really quickly, or are you farming like still rank 3 because you still need like materials and stuff?
Yeah, I'll probably do rank 3 because I want to level up some other classes.
Actually, speaking about leveling up other classes, since we've both read the Hero Arai interview with the dev team, they did mention stuff about the EXP penalty. So right now, leveling up a new class is kind of troublesome, because if you're a player like myself, where I only like to play Braver, so I don't really want to play like Fighter or as Ranger or Gunner or any other class, and so leveling up a class for me is extremely troublesome, because I would main Braver and I would subclass whatever I'm leveling up. First of all, there's a 50% EXP reduction because it's my subclass, but on top of that, because I'm farming like a rank 3 zone, all of the mobs are still 5 levels below me, which means I take that whopping like, what is it, like 75% EXP reduction or 90% EXP reduction or something. And so, yeah, it's basically peanuts. And it takes forever for me to level up any other classes unless I change it to a main class and have my Braver as a subclass. But the issue with that is the classes that I want to level up aren't level 31 yet, so they can't equip any of the weapons or the armors that I have in order to use like my Braver gear or my Force gear or just any of my gear in general. And so with the new changes coming in with the Kavaris region, where they are removing the EXP penalty in the yellow triggers or the yellow battle dias, I think that is amazing. So it's basically going back to base game, where we have like our rainbow keys and our gold keys, where there's no penalty at all. So we can just spam that over and over and over in order to level up all of our other classes extremely quickly, because there's just no penalty anymore. I think that might cause some of these yellow triggers to go back up in price, but for me, I am just doing what you're doing. I'm just going to be farming a crap ton of, well, for me, I'm farming rank 1 because I just want the points and I just want the triggers.
Does Captain spawn in rank 1?
Yes, actually, I had to look on the JP side for this. So they have a database where they collected a data pool of like 1,000 different runs or something. They were running rank 1.
That's a lot.
Yeah, they did rank 1 Alnoth, rank 3 Alnoth, and then they compared the spawn rate. Rank 1 was 5 to 14 spawns, and then rank 3 was 4 to 16 spawns. So there's a higher potential max in rank 3 because of the chaos trials. You know how we have double T's, and so there's a higher chance of the captain mob from spawning. But because rank 3 takes a little bit longer, because the whole method of the remaking rooms requires you to run the entire room solo. So you have 8 people, everyone's running their own solo instance, and when the captain mob spawns, everyone tells them the keyword or the password, they all join, blah 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 blah. And so in order for rank 3 to be viable or to be efficient, everyone needs to be strong enough to be able to like 2 or 3 shot mobs in rank 3 zones. So that's like, I want to say 2,180 to 2,200 battle power and above is about the level that you need in order to start 2-shotting to 3-shotting mobs in rank 3. And so the gear requirement is pretty high, but if you can run rank 3, then that is probably the better bet because there's the higher potential maximum farm for captain mobs versus rank 1, where the gear requirement's lower, but there is the, you know...
Sounds way easier.
Exactly. It's a lot easier, but there is a little bit less chance of spawning the captain mob. But overall, I think it's great. I personally beat farming rank 1 because rank 1 is just easier, it's more chill, and there's a lot of Meseta to be made, actually, from just killing mobs in rank 1.
Wow, that's surprising.
Yeah, because if you've ever noticed, or if you ever get the chance to look at the Meseta difference between killing rank 1 mobs versus rank 3 mobs, it's only like 3 Meseta difference per mob kill. And so you're just like, well, I kill like 10 mobs in the time I kill like, 5 mobs in rank 1. So you're getting double the amount. So it's just like, well, why am I doing this? What about the pyramid? Because I know you do a lot of endless in NGS. I mean, not in NGS, in base game, right? That's kind of like your thing. And so when they introduced the pyramid content or the geometric labyrinth, I was like, okay, so this is kind of like divide quest meets endless quest meets, whatever. What's your take on it? How do you feel about this content?
It seems like it's in the right direction, but a lot of it, and a lot of like NGS in general, they seem to be like simplifying things when they don't necessarily need to. And I think that's how I feel about the pyramid. I think the environment to fight in, and in general, I think it's pretty cool. Like, you're running around, there's like platforming. I think that's really awesome. But overall, it seems like the challenges seem to be really straightforward. A lot of it's just like, don't get hit or don't heal. When I think they can do a little bit better with like the changes and the challenges. I think that would make it a lot more interesting. Overall, it's pretty nice. I think it'll be interesting to see it grow as time goes on.
So since the geometric labyrinth will scale with our level, so when we do get the Kavaris region, all of the mobs in the pyramid are also going to become level 60 as we hit level 60 as well. So what type of difficulty or modifiers or features would you like to see added in the geometric labyrinth to make it more similar or at least closer to how endless feels to you?
A lot of it has to do with like differences in strategy. I would say you don't necessarily have to like change your strategy per se in the pyramid, but in base game sometimes there's stuff like where you have to kill enemies from the front or kill enemies from the back, or kill enemies by weak point, or break a certain amount of enemy parts. I think if they add in stuff like that, then it'll be a lot cooler in terms of varying the gameplay and strategy and challenges.
So I want to ask you, what do you feel like the main differences are of the base games like Endless or Divide and that type of content versus what NGS has right now? Other than what you said earlier where it seems simplified, but maybe give me more specifics or more details.
We can talk about how the scoring system is different as well. Specifically in Endless, like, your score is based off of like how far you go and how many things you complete, right? But in the Pyramid, I think since the modifiers are essentially logs, like if you do like the max point run like perfectly, then like your score will like always be the same, right? So there's like a limit to like how far you can take it if we were to compare it to Endless. And then I guess in comparison to Divide as well, Divide has like, various amount of stages that take you like all over the game, right? And also different types of stages as well. So it's definitely a lot more linear, I think.
Yeah, I agree. I feel like the Geometric Labyrinth is a good first step introducing this type of content to the player base. However, I do agree that it is a little bit stale, right? After playing it for maybe, 30, 40 times, you're kind of just like, well, I kind of know everything now. And it doesn't have the same level of technical demand as, for example, Endless, where it really tests your game knowledge and your mechanical prowess in handling specific situations. Like what you said, certain missions that you might get is kill enemies from behind or break, X amount of parts. Then that, changes up the strategy on how you approach the specific level, for example, or your specific build. But what would you feel, or how would you feel if they made the Pyramid just like Endless, where it's like you keep going up floors indefinitely until the very end?
I think that would be pretty cool. I think the hardcore players would really like that, definitely. I'm not sure if they want to add something like that. I don't see the issue, personally. But I think it would be something fun for the hardcore players, definitely.
Mm-hmm. So, for you, you're a very special breed of player. Because a lot of people like myself and a lot of my casual player base, when we look at specific content, a lot of it revolves around the loot and the reward. And so the Geometric Labyrinth, the reward over there is very mediocre. You've got your Ninja Dash, which is like the Covenant super rare drop. But other than that, all of the other drops seem pretty meh. And so a lot of people, they do it a couple of times, it's fun. And then they're just like, okay, I got my S rank, what now? There's no real reason I should be running this anymore because the loot doesn't seem worth my time or the effort anymore. But in your case, you really enjoy Endless not because of the loot, but because it kind of tests your game knowledge and your skill. So do you think that the Geometric Labyrinth should stay, true to that path? Where it's like, yeah, the loot isn't the main focus here. It's about mastery of your class, mastery of, the play style and your mechanics. Do you think that is the purpose of the Geometric Labyrinth?
I'm not really sure, to be honest, because it's because of the way the challenges are presented. And as far as I know, it's not very solo-friendly either. So I feel like if they want to make something like that, I don't think it should be with the Pyramid, or they would have to like modify things, especially how the quest plays out solo. But I think stuff like that is more likely to come out in the future when like we're a higher level and we have more skills in the skill tree, and then there's more like enemies to fight and stuff like that, and more gear as well, because like NGS still feels very like, you know, we're still only like level 45, right? And then in a month or so we're gonna be level 60, right? I guess so. We're like kind of getting there, you know, but just barely, right? So I think the pyramid might eventually turn into something like that with like updates, but I'm not too sure. Overall, I would like them to make more stuff like that, rather than, well, I would like them to update pyramid, but also like make other quest types. I think that's really good.
Yeah, I'm in the same boat, but I'm conflicted. Because when NGS was announced and, you know, during the trailers and a lot of their marketing, they really try to focus on how the game was open world. And like, maybe I'm just really old school, but the way that I've played a lot of MMOs or any games in general have always been like hub based, you know? You have a general hub and then you go into different game modes. So we had, you know, again, I'm going to bring up base PSO2. You know, you had your advanced quest, you had your divide quest, you had your endless quest. Everything had its own like little mode. And so something that I wanted in NGS was like a boss rush. So, you know, a lot of people like to tell me that, hey, there's the Gigantics, the purple battle dia, that's basically a boss rush. But I want one for like veteran mobs, so that if I wanted to farm for Dread Keepers, I could just run that game mode over and over, and I don't feel like I'm wasting my time. Because the problem with farming dreads or veterans right now in the open field is, you know, most fields only have 4 to 5 dread enemies, or even less sometimes. And you kill them, and then you're just sitting there waiting for them to respawn. And there's a lot of downtime, which I don't really like. I prefer to just go, 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 go. A good example was during, you know, before in the old seasonal event, before we got the anniversary event, there was a time where there was 8 veterans that were spawning in Central Retem. And that was really fun because it was legit just, the train was like choo choo and you just kept going around in that circle, and there was always mobs to kill, right? There was always a veteran to kill, no matter like how bad you messed up. And that was great because even though the drop rate was lower, I feel like it was lower. I feel like Sega did lower the drop rate for Dread Keepers during that moment, but it didn't feel bad because you were constantly killing, and it was just like how the you know, the RNG slot machine type of experience where you just kept going and farming and farming and farming, and eventually you got what you wanted. And so I'm very conflicted on, yeah, I want all of these new different game modes like the Geometric Labyrinth, but the thing about the Geometric Labyrinth type of content is it's not open world, it's instance based, and it's limited. You know, you're not playing with 32 players, you're playing with just either solo or you have like 4 players total, and that's it. And so I'm very conflicted on if they should be focusing more on instance-based content, or if they should be focusing more on the exploration zones and making content for the exploration zones that make it worthwhile for people to run it, you know?
Yeah, no, I agree. I think if like, well, what they're doing with Kavaris is like there's like the snowboarding stuff, right? So I think that's kind of in the right direction, where they want to, you know, give people other activities in like exploration areas, right? At least I think it's an exploration area. Maybe it's both combat and exploration area, who knows?
Yeah, I mean, they did say it was like, I think they called it time trial content or something, where it's you it's kind of like a race. You have to get from point A to point B, and you have to collect like specific, like, you know, coins or something, you know, something that increases a score. And apparently we're gonna have 1 in Kavaris, 1 in Retem, and 2 in Alio. So they're all gonna be in exploration zones where you gotta collect all of these points in order to increase your score. And apparently you're gonna have a high score as well. Now, I don't know if the high score is gonna be like, server wide or ship wide, or if it's just going to be like your own personal high score or something. But it seems interesting. But again, as from my perspective, a lot of it is going to revolve around, okay, what do I get out of it, right? Do I get like, what are the rewards? I feel like that is the main thing that Sega has been performing or undershooting every single time. Like, for example, we can bring back to the blue portals that we've been running with this anniversary event. As you said at the very beginning of the pod, you're like, oh yeah, not a lot of people seem to want to run it, and they just want to farm for captain mobs instead. And I feel like the reason for that is because it seems to be more efficient to just go to combat zones and farm for captain mobs than running the blue portals, because the blue portal, it takes like 9 to 10 minutes with like a, reasonable, like a pug group will take you on average 9 to 10 minutes. And at the very end, it took me 15 runs to get the captain mob to spawn once with the blue portal. So, that's 150 minutes. That's basically 2 hours and a little bit more already just to get one captain mob. While if I go to Ritem Al Noth, in 2 hours, I can get upwards of almost 30 spawns. So it just didn't make any sense, right? So I'm just like, okay, I'm not gonna run this anymore. So, like, from my point of view, since the blue portal or this anniversary event is a limited time thing, Sega should have incentivized people to run it. For example, there's double the chance of the captain mob to spawn at the end, and maybe instead of spawning right, and instead of spawning one, it would spawn like 2 captain mobs instead, or multiple captain mobs. And so when you get that spawn, you're just like, oh my god, it's like the jackpot,
I agree. I think if they're on top of it, they would have changed the spawn rate already, like this maintenance.
Yeah, exactly. Well, actually, they might have. Who knows? Because I haven't tested it.
No one's just running.
Right. Imagine they fixed it, but no one's running it, so no one knows. That'd be so
I wouldn't
sad.
be surprised. I feel like people figure out stuff so fast these days, and information gets around like instantly,
Yeah, it's pretty crazy because, back when we were only playing the base game, we had all the information on the global side because we just looked at the JP players and we were just like, yo, what's coming up? What's the new gear? What do we need to upgrade? Blah, blah, blah. And we had all the information. But now everything is new. Everything is like the frontier. And so when new content drops, it's really cool to see the global approach as well as the JP approach and like information gathering and information sharing. Have you seen what Uber has made? Like the NGS data verification database thing? Have you seen that?
Oh yeah, I look at that all the time.
Right? Like, that is awesome. I feel like that is so cool to see that, hey, the global side and the JP side are working together to collect information and data in order to get better at the game, or find out more information about the game. Like, that is just so cool and so awesome.
Yeah, it's great to have resources like that, because when you have questions, and it's like, boom, the answers are there.
Exactly. It's funny because yesterday I had a couple players that wanted to get really sweaty and try hard on the game, and they were asking about like, oh, how does the weather affect the PSE gauge and combat zones and stuff. And I just sent them the verification sheet. I was just like, yo, here's all the data. Read it for yourself. I actually don't understand what any of it says, but I'm sure you guys can figure it out. And then, they figured it out. And then they explained it to me. And I was just like, oh, so that's what all these numbers mean.
Dang, nice. You're just getting people to explain that you just send it to them and they tell you?
Yeah. Because, I mean, the way that I see it, right, is I'm a representative of the more casual player base, right? I don't seek out to learn, frame data and, like, absolute mastery of my class and stuff. I just want to be decent enough at the game so that I can play with anyone I want, and, we can do whatever content we want, right? That's basically my goal. As long as I can carry the friends that I play with, or at least pull my own weight at the bare minimum, that's good enough for me. And you know, I wanna ask you, GM, what do you seek out in NGS specifically?
For me, I'm kind of just like, for me, it's about the gameplay, right? You know, it's a game, so it's like I want to play a game and you know, have fun with it, right? So for me, it's about finding like what can make the gameplay fun. And fortunately, Gunner is in the game, and I find Gunner extremely fun. Otherwise, I'd probably be playing Bouncer. I think Bouncer's really fun too. But yeah, for me, it's definitely the gameplay. I'm really hoping the new skills, when level 60 comes out, I really hope like that really, you know, spices things up. Cause the Hero Arai interview that they put out recently, they talked about new skills coming out, but they didn't seem very interesting. But the last time they did that, they only showed, remember when the Rotem region came out, they showed off like the new skills, right? They showed off like one new skill per class, right? But like the actual skills that came out were like way more significant, right? Or like the other skills that came out were like way more significant. So that's what I'm seeing right now is like, okay, the skills they showed or they talked about in the interview seemed like pretty like whatever, you know? But I'm hoping the ones they haven't talked about are gonna be bangers.
Yeah, it seems to be a trend. I find it very strange on why Sega does this, but you know, I've just kind of grown to accept it. They always undermarket their game, right? Like when they're telling us like, oh, new content's coming, they always hide the best parts for us to find out. You know, they don't tell us, right? Like when we went to Retem the very first time, you know, they didn't tell us anything about the relic weapons until they were like, yeah, find it out yourself. And when we found out about the relic weapons, we're like, holy crap, these weapons are cracked, you know, they're amazing. And so, yeah, I just find it really weird that, you know, Sega or NGS in its current state, you know, the player base is, you know, it's kind of small, not gonna lie, but like Sega's not breaking character and being like, yo, we need to go full out marketing in order to get more people back, in order to all this stuff. They're still like, no, we're gonna stick to our guns, we're gonna show off a little bit, but the not so interesting parts, and then when the game or when the patch actually comes in, then you find out that, oh crap, you know, there's actually quite a bit, you know? It's just weird that they do this.
Yeah, I don't know, I'm not sure, because NGS is a little different from the base game, because now they have to, like, think about the global side simultaneously, right? And for base PS2, that wasn't the case, right? Like, all of their energy and marketing can be in Japan, and then when the English game came out in America, like, I believe a different team was handling it. Actually, a different team alongside Sega of America, but I don't think that team exists anymore, so now it's all just Sega doing the global thing. So it's a little different, I think. And also you can tell in NGS headline compared to like the previous streams that they used to have for PSO2 JP, the overall like attitude or like the overall feel of like their presentation is very different.
So I've never really watched the NGS headlines for the base game, like on the JP side. What did they call it back then?
It was, I forget actually.
Yeah,
it's been so long.
Yeah, I forgot what they called it, but you know, I know that the JP side, when they made that show every month or whatever, it seemed a lot more, you know, I think it felt a little bit more casual, a little bit more personalized. And now it seems a little bit more professional, more here are the facts, here are some trailers, and it's more to the point.
It almost looks like I'm watching like a television news or something.
Yeah, actually.
With the NGS headline.
Yeah, that is true. Do you know, like, or why do you think that is the case?
You know, I really don't know. My guess is that they have different teams from before, I don't think it's the same team doing, everything. Yeah, the social media stuff or whoever's taking care of like media. It's definitely totally different. Cuz like in the previous streams, like it would almost be like a talk show, Like they'd be talking to like devs, like they would have like devs like on the show, you know what I mean? And then they would have special guests and they're just laughing and like messing around half the time. If you've ever seen Japanese television, that's kind of like how it goes, right? They have all these formalities and stuff like that. And then they're just yapping, having fun, whatever. And then they eventually talk about what they need to talk about, And then they have a segment where they're just, they're talking about, like, what's going on, like, between, in the office, I guess. I don't know. But it also seemed like they had a lot more activities to really, like, mess around with, as well. In terms, not only like in the game, not only like showing stuff in game, but also just silly stuff where they like dress up on the show or something. They were really having fun with it.
Yeah, for sure. For the viewers out there that have never seen or want like a reference point to how these shows were, it was basically before NGS was announced, they made I think 4 different episodes as like a teaser. And they had like a comedian, they had an idol, and they had Hiro Rai. It was kind of like that format, but a little bit more extreme. And that was basically what the JP NGS headlines or their headlines were like. I think that they changed the format to how the NGS headline format is right now because they want to cater to the global audience. Because when a lot of like if we look at Western companies that when they do their trailers and stuff, the format that seems to work is very straight to the point. It's like, all right, here are a couple trailers, here are the hype pieces, here's the new content, and that seems to be the presentation format. We can look at Genshin Impact, for example, Genshin Impact, the way that they do their headlines, and millions of people tune into it, is always they have the voice actors or voice actresses on the show, and they do a little bit of small banter, but the majority of it is like trailer, these are the events, bang 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 bang, and here are the rewards, bang. And then it just hypes everyone up because everyone's like, oh crap, this is the new character coming out, this is the new region coming out, these are the new activities or events, and here's all the new loot. And that seems to be the working formula to hype the global community.
I don't even play the game, and then like I see ads for that on like Twitch and stuff. I'm like, man, like that, they did a great job. Like they're doing a banger job with the advertising and hyping it up.
Exactly. It's funny though because Genshin Impact is a company that originated in Shanghai, where I am right now. And Shanghai is currently in a lockdown. We've been in lockdown for a month and a half, almost 2 months now, actually. And so the game itself is in a very awkward situation because no one can go to the office because they're all locked at home.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And so the game right now, like we're stuck in limbo because they can't update the game to the next version because there's certain things that aren't complete yet. They need to be in the office to update it and all that stuff. And yeah, it is. It's very bonkers. And you can see there's a huge dip in popularity of Genshin Impact right now because all the content creators are like, well, it's the same thing now. There's no update, there's nothing. We've been covering, like, just imagine NGS, right? If we're waiting for that 6-month update like the Kavaris region, right? And then because of lockdown, it's delayed for like 2 more months. So instead of 6 months, it's 8 months. Then, you just run out of content to cover and you're just like, oh crap, what do I do now? And so all the content creators are, covering different games or playing different things, whatever. And so Genshin Impact is kind of, you know, it's clearly seen a dip in popularity. And I feel like it's because Genshin Impact's entire business model has always been like, you get a huge spike in popularity on a big update, everyone plays through it, everyone's done with it, and then it just kind of stagnates again. And then, you know, a month later, there's another big update, and so it goes up and down, up and down. And I think with NGS, since you can clearly see that they took a lot of inspiration from Genshin Impact, I think that their business model is kind of the same. Like, you can see there's a huge spike in return players, or at least from my YouTube channel, whenever there's like a big update, I notice that I get a lot more views on videos versus when there's like a lull period. Like, I would say probably like this week is kind of a lull period as we're waiting for the Retem, what do you call it? Yeah, mining base, right? Once the Retem mining base comes out, I think we'll see a peak, or, you know, a resurgence of players coming back just to play the new content for like, you know, a couple days. And then it's going to go down again. And then we're all waiting for the Kavaris region, right? Once that update comes in, I expect, you know, a lot more viewers, a lot more players to try to come back into the game and be like, all right, you know, we blasted through Retem in like a week or two. Let's see how much content Kavaris has, you know? That's gonna be the deal, I think.
I think that's like the economy, or like the state of like video games that we live in right now. Is like, you know, any new online game, you know, let's say, I don't know, anything, Fortnite, whatever, whenever it's new season or new update, you know, then that's when like everyone jumps back in, right? But then when there isn't an update, then it's like people stray away from it, and like you really need those updates to like really keep your player base consistent. I think which is absolutely key in like today's day and age.
Yeah, for sure. I feel like it's kind of interesting to just see that type of mental, you know, like I find it very weird because the way that I play video games is I dedicate myself to like, you know, 1 to 2, maybe 3 different type of games at most.
Yeah.
But
I get you.
You know, and then I'm very loyal to that game. I'm just like, yo, you know, there's these other cool games coming in like Lost Ark and stuff. Like, you know, I will play it, but if it doesn't resonate with like the vibe that I feel, it just I'll drop the game, you know? I'm just like, no, it's not my cup of tea, whatever. And PSO2 or NGS in general scratches a very specific itch that I have that makes me come back to it over and over and over again. You know, when Lost Ark first came out...
Does it have to do with the katana?
I mean, it's maybe it's like the katana or the gameplay or like the braver combat style, but it's, I don't know, it's just something about the progression path and the way that you gear up and just the way that the game is designed. I just feel like there's so much satisfaction that I get out of playing NGS versus other games, you know? Like Lost Ark, I didn't get very far in Lost Ark. I
know you're playing that.
Right? I got to max level on Lost Ark, and then I just dropped the game because it just didn't really resonate with me. Like, I'm a big fan of Diablo type of games, you know? Like isometric, dungeon crawler type of stuff. So, you know, naturally, I was like, yo, you know, Lost Ark, it's basically that. It should resonate with me. I should like this game. But for some reason, it just never clicked. And so I was just like, whatever. And I dropped it. But for some reason, NGS just always scratches that itch. Like, it's not an isometric game. It's, you know, it's very unique and it's its own thing. But
you could make it isometric by like making your camera really far up.
I mean, I suppose.
Yeah, I did that one time.
Really? Wait, what? How do you play like that?
I don't know how I did it. I did it like once. It was really funny. It's definitely an interesting perspective on the game.
Yeah, for sure. So recently, I've been playing a lot of Valorant, and you know, Valorant is a very different game than NGS. You know, it's an MMO category versus a first-person shooter category, and a competitive first-person shooter as well. And so I've come to realize something. NGS, I can play at any time of the day because it's an MMO. Even if I'm like half asleep or like, sleep deprived or whatever, I can still play NGS at like a basic level, right? Since it's all PvE focused, and if you're farming in a combat zone, it doesn't matter if you miss an iframe or two or whatever. But it's super chill. But in Valorant, it's a competitive shooter. I need to bring my A game. I need to be awake. I need to be alert when I'm playing that game, because if I'm not, the other team just whoops my ass, right? I find it really, really funny that whenever I play Valorant, it's like, okay, have I slept? Have I ate? Am I alert? I tend to focus on so many weird things now, and I'm just like, okay, if I check all of these boxes, I'll play Valorant.
No, that's important, because concentration for that kind of stuff, or if you want to play well, you need a high level of concentration, right? And all that stuff is really important. So I get you on that.
Yeah. And it's crazy though. It's gotten to the point where it's like, because when I play a video game, I want to be good at it. If I'm bad at a video game, the chances of me dropping it is extremely high. Because, I don't have fun if I'm losing. I'm that type of gamer. I need to win in the game in order to feel
I think a lot of us are like that.
Right? And Valorant is one of those games where I'm constantly striving to get good at, because I suck at the game. I'm not gonna lie. I'm absolutely garbage at Valorant. But it scratches that CSGO itch that I had 10 years ago, where I'm just like, yo, this game is fun. I suck at it, but I want to get good at it. And so I'm sinking in hours upon hours into this game, learning positionals, learning where to smoke, where to flash, and all of this game knowledge. Yeah, and all the different agents. And it's just crazy, because it just brings out that competitive nature that I have. Because a lot of people don't see that side of me, because when I'm playing NGS, it's very relaxed, it's very chill. Yeah, and I've kind of taken a sort of sensei / mentor type of feel in NGS, where I'm just I'm super patient. If someone doesn't know anything, I'll explain how the mechanics work and stuff like that, right?
On your stream, people are asking questions all the time, and you're helping people out every time. Yeah. Actually every time on your stream, you're answering questions and stuff.
Yeah, exactly. That's kind of what people see of me, right? Because something that a lot of people just tend to assume is how you act on stream or on YouTube videos. A lot of people just they just assume, oh, that's just how you are. And 80%, 90% that is true. I am very well-mannered, very mild-natured guy, very laid back. But it's not the whole picture. There are specific games that I play, or there are specific moments where I'm super tryhard, super anal about certain things and stuff like that, because I'm yo, we need to win. I want to be good at this, stuff like that. Right?
I was thinking when you're hanging out in my stream, we're definitely joking around a lot more.
yeah, for sure. That's actually it's funny, because my online persona or online approach has always been very trolly, and we're just here to have fun. And the reason why I have this entire approach is because the day job that I have to deal with, it's so formal, it's so uptight. In case we have new viewers here, my day job is a sommelier. So I serve wine, I educate people about wine, and wine has this kind of it's not exactly a stigma, it's not bad or anything, but a lot of people associate wine with upper class, fancy, well-educated type of stuff. And so I need to live up to a lot of my clients' expectations when I'm explaining a specific wine, or I'm serving them a wine, or I'm teaching a class, for example. I need to keep up appearances, where it's oh, I will gel my hair, I'll wear a suit, I'll blah blah blah, just to keep up appearances, because my clients expect that from me when they come to my classes, or they come to have a fancy dinner and want a very nice wine. They just expect that type of level of professionalism and service. And so when my entire day job is super uptight and super constricted like that, when I unwind, I just want to be as troll as possible, as laid back as, as just whatever, right?
Yeah.
And that's kind
Take
of
off
how...
formalities.
Exactly. Like, screw formality, throw that out of the window. That's basically how my entire YouTube channel and Twitch and streaming and all of that, like, that's how I molded the personality. It's basically two extremes. Day job, super serious, and YouTube just super goofy, right? That's kind of how I see it.
I know what you're talking about with the wine stuff too. Like, I've been wine country and stuff. I'm from California, so it's like, I've been around.
Yeah, for sure. I feel like in Cali, there are two types of wine connoisseurs or enjoyers. There's like there's like the hippie type that kind of they're just like, yo, I'll break it down to you. It's very chill, very easy, and like this is the basics, right? They'll simplify it for you because they're chill. They just want you to understand. And then you've got like the intellectual type, which just try to make things as unnecessarily complicated as possible, just so that it seems like, wow, they really know their stuff. Like it just. At least that is my take. When I went to Napa Valley and I was there for a lot of wine testing and we were there to like purchase wine and stuff, like those were the two types of people that I met. So, since we're on the topic of wine, do you drink alcohol or do you drink wine or anything?
Sometimes. I like the dessert wines. I'll have anything really, but the dessert wines are really tasty.
Okay, dessert wines. So, do you like ice wine or Sauterne, or do you know like what specific type of dessert wine that you like?
I forget the name of it. I'm sorry. It's kind of like a see-through-ish one.
Does it taste like honey?
No. I forget what it's called. I'll let you know later. But I just know the dessert ones they're really tasty. They're really delicious.
Mm-hmm. Yep. That's actually interesting. So you have a sweet tooth. You like the sweet wines kind of stuff, right? You don't really like the full-bodied, more mature flavors of reds. Not really your jam?
At first, I didn't, but, like, after a while, like, I've learned to, like, appreciate those,
I usually don't tell any of my clients this, but the more I got into wine, because, I need to take all of these different exams in order to get all these different certificates to certify that I am a qualified sommelier. And the more I studied about wine and the more I learned about specific grape types, varieties, etc., like the more basic I became in my sense of what I enjoyed. So I used to really enjoy a lot of like old French wines where it's like, oh, there are layers, it's complicated, it's sophisticated, you've got the earthy textures with coffee bean and all of that stuff, right? I really liked those wines before, and then now I feel like I devolved. I'm just like, yeah, just give me any American wine that is young, that is sweet, that is fruity. I'm just like, yeah, I just want something simple. I don't want to think about it. I just want it to taste good.
So why is that though? Oh, just because it's like simple and good?
Yeah, I feel like it's just, I've gotten so tired of analyzing wine and like, writing tasting notes and writing sophisticated articles or essays, that I just want to have a very basic wine that I can drink every day and just kind of enjoy,
So it's like, those are the simple ones that are young, or they're just good enough, and it's like, yeah, it's cool.
Yeah, exactly. It's kind of funny that I just kind of devolved to that, because you can get a lot of wines that are fruity, fresh, sweet, at like a reasonable price point. Like the average price of a bottle of wine that I like to enjoy is at around $60 to $80 per bottle, right? Like that's considered reasonable compared to what my hobbies were before. Like before, when I wanted like a very sophisticated, complicated wine, like it would be a vintage wine, right? It would be like from 1989 or something along those lines, where it's been aged forever, and those are expensive, especially when I'm buying old world wine. I'm talking about like $300-$400 a bottle, And that at that price point, I can't really justify just drinking it on whim, right? If you're paying $300, $400, it better be a freaking special occasion or a dinner with guests or friends or something, right? I can't just be like, oh yeah, I'm just sitting there watching Netflix and I pop open a $400 bottle.
Oh yeah, sometimes you treat yourself.
Yeah, I guess.
But I get you. It's
definitely funny that we say this because, as I said earlier, we've been in lockdown for almost 2 months. So my mom's been just ravaging through the wine supply that we have at home. And, it got to a point where we were looking at like our Opus 1s and our Screaming Eagles. So those wines cost around like, $500 to $600 a bottle. And she was just like, man, do we open this or not? And I'm just like, oh shit, man. Those are some very expensive bottles. You sure you want to pop that? Oh,
look, it's a special occasion. We're locked in.
Yeah, special occasion. 30 days lockdown celebration. Oh god, yeah, it's crazy. And so it's funny though, because even though I work in the wine industry, I have like a warehouse, right? I have a warehouse and a wine cellar, but they're in a different location. They're not in my house, so they're basically in the office, right? And at my office, that place is in lockdown as well. Since the entirety of Shanghai is in lockdown, but I'm not able to go to my warehouse and get wine there. So we're forced to order through or purchase wine through other means, right? Through like supermarkets or through distributors or through whatever other means or other supply channels that have specific...
That is troublesome.
Yeah, exactly. It's very, very troublesome because like I have a lot of wine in my warehouse where I can just like, if I could, I would just go and pick up all that wine and just be like, yo, we're set for like 3 years. We can drink like 10 bottles a day for 3 years and we're still fine. but because we're not able to go to the warehouse, it's like, well, shit. So now we have to buy wine, and like it's very painful to see that we're overpaying because, we're in the industry, so we know, the cost of this wine is XYZ. And the markup, you could see all the markups, and we're just like, oh man, I'm paying so much for this.
Well, when do you guys get out of lockdown?
We don't know. We don't know. Like,
wow, really? Oh my god.
Like in Shanghai, we're just waiting because we have a zero COVID policy. So we're in lockdown until we get 0 cases of COVID. So who knows when that'll be.
Dude, over here they started removing mask policies, so like most people don't even wear their masks anymore.
Yeah, and like when you go to the US, you don't even need to quarantine anymore properly, I think, right?
Yeah, I think you're right, yeah.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Honestly, it's been pretty loose.
Yeah, like
I still wear my mask. I don't know.
Yeah, same. I'm super scared about COVID because like one of the side effects of COVID was you lose your sense of taste and smell, and I can't afford to lose that. I'll be out of a job if I lose that.
Yeah.
I'll be like, yeah, this one tastes like banana. All right. That was a fun little tangent, but let us come back to NGS. So, with the Kavaris region coming out, we're getting the level 60 cap increase with the new skills and stuff. So let's talk about Gunner in specific, since that's your class, right? What do you feel Gunner needs right now in order to just be at least on par with like how base game Gunner feels?
That's a very good question. So they did show off, or here I did talk about one skill, and definitely people are questioning how effective it is. I believe the new skill, or at least one of the new skills, is if your chain runs out, like if you don't pop chain finish, then your next chain will start at a higher number, right? So that is essentially kind of like a band-aid for when you miss a chain finish due to the timer running out, like the duration of a chain trigger running out. Now, that's useful, but it's very rare that that comes up, you know? It's very, very rare you'll, like, not pop your chain finish, right? So, that one seems kind of like a band-aid fix. From what I saw, was that there were a lot of Japanese players retweeting their issues with Gunner with the NGS headline tag, and a lot of the complaints were about chain trigger and chain boost expiring between enemies. You know, like you'll kill a group of enemies, and then you run into the next group of enemies, and then by that time, like, your chain expires, or your chain boost expires, right? So, I think that skill is Sega's response to that. They're like, hey, we were listening, so here's this skill that, you know, is sort of like a band-aid fix for that. Maybe it's not even a fix, but it's something. It's better than nothing. So, that's what I see that skill, like, from my perspective, from seeing, like, Japanese players complain about that, and then, like, this comes out, you know? So that's what it looks like, what Sega wants to take care of. As far, what I would like to see is, like, damage boost stuff. So the stuff we got from Rotem for Gunner was, like, really crazy. I'll be honest with you. Like, it's kind of insane. I was not expecting that stuff. So what I would like to see is something that's in the base PSO2 game, and something I've been hoping for a while, is double chain. So this skill makes your chain build twice as fast. So like one hit is equal to 2, right? So for example, bullet rain, I think it hits like 21 times, right? So you build 21 chain. If you have double chain, then it would be 42, right? So that would be awesome. That would be beautiful. And then let's say if you do it twice, then you'd already be at 84 chain, which is good enough for the extra 10% attack speed boost. So I would like to see that skill. That would be really cool, because then you can chain a lot faster. And I think besides getting chain finish off a lot faster, I think you'd be able to build your attack speed boost from chain boost a lot faster as well. Because you have to land 2 chain triggers above 80% to get the max attack speed boost. And that generally will take a minute to do on like a single target. So with double chain, that would definitely speed it up. I would like to see stuff like that.
Yeah, I definitely think that double chain is going to be a thing. I don't see why they wouldn't do that, unless it would, like, you know, break the class and make it like overpowered, but I don't think so. You're just basically halving the time to get the maximum attack speed, right? Instead of 1 minute, it'll be 30 seconds, right? Is that the main benefit?
Yeah.
From maxing out chain trigger?
That, and like, I mean, you get the chain finish faster or more often, so like that's cool. So like if other classes are gonna get attack damage bonuses, like that sounds in line, I think, right?
Yeah, the reason I say that is because Braver got that, right? With our Katana combat, or now called Brave combat, we literally got a skill which doubles the amount. Like when we hit once, we get 2 hits instead. But the reason why we get that is because when we end our Brave combat, depending on how many times we hit the enemy, we gain photon power as well as HP back when we conclude Brave combat. And so a lot of people wanted that skill so that when we, you know, during the 30-second time frame that we have of Brave combat, you can heal back you know, 100% of your HP or 100% of your PP or whatever, because you only need to hit 50 times instead of 100 times. So if they did it for Braver, I don't see why they wouldn't do it for Gunner. That's my theory, at least.
That would be super great. I'm also interested to see if they bring back more like Tech Arts gameplay. because there's in the base game there's this. A lot of classes had this where it's like if you use one photon art into another, you get like various bonuses. Like you'll get like a damage bonus or PP reduction. But it's usually damage bonus, right? I think that really changes up like your gameplay, and you're not just like smashing like one PA, you know, and that's like the optimal thing to do, you know. Like, at least you're, like, you know, switching between, like, 2 different PAs, and you're being rewarded for it, right? So, I would like to see that. That was definitely something in Gunner's, or Gunner was definitely one of the classes that had benefits like that. There were a lot, though, like, Fighter, almost all the Scion classes in the old game. So, I think if I would like to see Tech Arts gameplay. A lot of it has to do with, like, just making the gameplay more fun, I think. Because NGS, we mentioned this already, it's generally more simplified than base PSO2, right? And I think, like, one of the main removals of gameplay was we don't have just attacks anymore, right? Or perfect attacks. So, I would like to see more fun gameplay elements to like fill in that hole, you know what I mean?
You know, because fun is a very subjective word. From the feeling that I get from you explaining all of this is, I think you want a little bit more complex gameplay. Is that the right direction? You know, you just want more mechanics,
basically,
where you can fine tune things in order to get like a potential maximum damage, something along those lines.
Yeah. Tech art stuff. I mean, I know perfect attacks aren't in the game, but like if they add those, I think it would make it more fun too, personally.
I feel like NGS has taken the approach of, hey, we want to make the game a little bit easier, well, a lot easier, so that we can reach a larger player base, right? Because like a lot of players that have come into NGS, they don't like the base game, because they go to the base game and they're like, wow, everything's so complicated, everything's so convoluted, and you know, it's too overwhelming for the average casual player. That was one of the things that I was excited for NGS when it was announced, was, yo, the graphics are going to be better, everything's going to be more streamlined, and so it's going to be a lot easier for the casual player to start NGS. And I think that NGS has done a very good job in that sense, where it's like, you know, here are your 3 different photon arts, you know, well, I guess now it's like 4, and it's very easy to wrap your head around it. It's like, okay, these are the different 4 photon arts you have, these are all the different combinations, and so it's very easy, right? But I do agree in what you're saying, where it's like, okay, even though we only have 4 photon arts, maybe we can have a little bit more complexity. Just like how a fighting game is, right? When you play Street Fighter, you've got your strong punch, your weak punch, your strong kick, and your weak kick. It's just 4 buttons. But if you string it together in a specific order with a couple directional commands, you can do like a Shoryuken or something, or Shoryuken. And then, you know, you can mix up all these different combinations for different moves. And I think that could be a possibility, where it's like, oh, if you do specific photon arts in a very specific order, you know, you get a special finisher, or you get a special, you know, damage dealing.
That would be super cool,
right?
That would be really cool.
Exactly. So it's interesting because for the Braver, the new skills that we're getting in Kavaris is, after we cast 3 photon arts, when your auto attack or your basic attack is going to be imbued with additional damage. So this is kind of like what I was talking about before, where it's like, okay, it's mixing up the formula, right? Instead of just spamming the photon art until you're out of photon power and then auto attacking, you know, now it's like, okay, there's a little bit of complexity here. You know, if you really want to min-max your damage, it's like 1, 2, 3 auto attack, 1, 2, 3 auto attack, and there's a rhythm to that. And that's something that I really missed in base game, where it's like, when you played a class sometimes you just get in that zone, right? It's like, oh, you play perfectly because in your mind you're playing in a rhythmic type of movement, right? It's like, okay, these are the attacks, I get used to it, stuff like that. And actually in NGS they do have a boss that feels like that, and that is the special Bujin in the pyramid, on the floor 6. When you fight against that as a braver, especially, there is a rhythm to the attacks. So especially when you get really used to it and you're just countering every single attack, you're in the zone, because it's just like attack, counter, PA, counter, auto attack, counter, PA, counter, and it's just like da 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 da. And there's a rhythm throughout his entire attack sequence, as long as you have aggro. The moment you lose aggro, then it's just like, everything's gone out the window, because, you know.
Yeah, I know you mean.
And like, I really enjoy that. I find that so satisfying when I'm fighting against that Bujin and I get good enough to counter or to hold aggro and not take any damage or get hit at all for like a minute, 2 minutes, 3 minutes. I'm just like, yo, like it's just so
it's really satisfying.
Yeah, so I would like to see more content like that, you know, where we get to fight cool bosses like that, you know. That's pretty fun.
Yeah, one thing I was randomly thinking about was like, if we had like, I guess it would have to be like a universal skill, but like if you use like one weapon photon art into a different weapon's photon art, then you'd get like a damage bonus. I thought that might be something really cool that takes advantage of the multi-weapon system and like rewards you for it. So I'm really hoping for like something like that too. But like I mentioned, it would probably have to be a universal skill, because, you know, you're just like using different weapons at that point, right?
Well, I mean, speaking about universal skills, with the Kavaris region, we're getting the throw thingy, right? We could throw a rock or whatever, or an ice bolt or something at the mobs, right? So that is a universal skill. So maybe we do know that there will be an urgent quest in the Kavaris region where the boss, there will be a mechanic where you do need to pick up like ice shards or something and throw it at the boss in order to break a specific part or something. Yeah.
Okay.
So that is the universal thing that you said. So maybe it's like photon art, and to throw something into another photon art might be something interesting.
I'm hoping. I was hoping that maybe that chain finish, or like they said the throw, if you throw the crystal, do like big damage. I was hoping maybe chain finish is affected by it. I don't know how I'll try that or get that off, but I'll test it.
Yeah, it'd be so busted if you did chain finish throw and you dealt like 1,000,000 damage. People would be like, wait a second.
Nerf gunner, what the heck?
Yeah, right. Oh my god. So another thing I'm kind of excited for actually is I'm hoping that we get some news about the summoner class soon, like either, you know, when the Kavaris region comes out, or like near the end of the Kavaris region. We're bound to see some information about the summoner soon.
I feel like, you know, besides when the game first came out and people were talking about how there isn't that much content, I feel like the second most thing people were talking about was like summoner, basically. So I'm surprised to not see that on the list anytime recently or soon, and I hope I do. I hope we do.
I'm pretty sure we will, because remember, we're getting an updated roadmap again. Like, it's been almost 6 months, so we're gonna see the roadmap till December.
You're right.
Right?
Yeah.
So we're bound to see Summoner. It's just, when does it come out is the question. But on top of that, another thing that's also piqued my interest is, do you think we'll see the Gunslash this year or not?
I hope so. I would really hope so. Maybe like we'll get Summoner like August, September, and then the Gunslash class in December. I think that's what I'm hopeful for.
Yeah, I'm in the same boat. I feel like every year they should aim to release 2 classes, right? I think that's like a reasonable request, in my opinion. What I want to see, of course, is first of all how the summoner is going to work, because I'm sure they're not going to make it as complicated as the base game, right? The base game with their stupid candy box and candy crushing and all that garbage, I have no idea what I was doing, and I hated it. So I hope that they simplify that. But I can't wait to see how the Summoner class is, because like I still remember very fondly, like you're fighting against these bosses and then you just get your big Maron pet, you get a super size and you throw it and it self-destructs and like one shots like all the bosses. Like, I have very fond memories of that, so I'm hoping to see what well, I'm looking forward to the Summoner class. But you know, you play a lot of Luster before as well. You quite enjoy a lot of the Scion classes. So what are you hoping? What are you hoping to see from the Gunslash or the Gunblade class?
That's a great question. At the top of my head, I'm expecting them to like mix Luster things as well as just like regular Gunslash things, because you know how like every class can use Gunslash, and like it just has its own set of photon arts and stuff like that. So I'm expecting like moves from there, but also like some moves from Luster. So I'm expecting them to like mix those two things together, I think is what I'm expecting without seeing anything from it.
Do you think we're gonna get like the 3 different combat styles just like the Luster in base game, or not?
I don't think so, because like we don't have elements on weapons, but I would really like to see that stuff. But I don't think so. If anything, they'll like combine all of them in one.
I feel the same way. I feel like they would have they'll combine all 3 stances or modes or whatever into one, and then have it that your gun can't, or your gunblade can change based on the photon arts that you do, right? Since we have the whole multi-weapon system going on, right? Maybe there's like specific multi-weapons that you could put in together of different gun slashes in order to use specific special PAs, or it changes the way your PA works, right? Because
that'd be cool.
Yeah, they hinted that actually in the article, the one that we just got with the Hero Rai interview with the dev team. That
really?
They said that they're looking into, or we can look forward to specific skills in our skill tree that will actually change the way that our photon arts work. So I'm really looking forward to that, because it'll be cool.
I like that.
Yeah, I like that idea.
That seems like base PSO2's like PA customization, but instead of like making customization discs for it, it's like in the skill tree. At least that's what it sounds like to me.
Yeah, definitely. Another thing that I'd like to see later down the line is like skill rings. You know how we have all the skill rings in the base game, which like unlocks specific things. I'd love to see something along those lines, because something that I'm still waiting and I'm still begging to see is a crit build. I want to do a crit build on a Braver.
I know, right?
Oh man, I'm just dying to do a full crit build where it's just like, yep, because I mean, think about it. The base game, the Braver, just from the skill tree alone, you got like 75% crit chance just from the skill tree alone. It was nuts. And like,
yeah, I know.
That was the whole identity of the Braver, right? It was like, you focus on the weak points, you have your precision stance, which like you deal additional damage when you hit weak points, but less damage when you hit non-weak points. And like it was all built around positioning, understanding the mobs you're fighting, your counters, and critical hits. And that was my jam. It was just like, yes, I need to learn these mobs, I need to learn the rotations so that I can get good enough to hit the weak spot all the time, right? And that was what I enjoyed about the Braver so much. But in NGS right now, it's kind of just like, as we've said multiple times, it's very watered down, very simplified. We're just like, oh, look at me, I'm just gonna spam one PA, everything's dead, So I am looking forward to, more skills and more customizability. I want more build diversity. That's something that I want to see. Like right now, it seems like everyone's either like full glass cannon, or you've got like sort of what I have, like a sort of balance build, or just like a full tank build, right? I want to see, you know, like a crit rate build, or like a potency 4 build, or like a, you know, a counter build. Like, I just want to see more different build diversity, or like, you know, viable choices that people can build around to make things more interesting, you know?
I agree. I think a lot of what you said has to do with like the affixes, right? There is that weird affix they showed where it's like you take less environmental damage. I don't know how I feel about that. Like changing your affixes for the region? Like, I don't know. That seems kind of weird.
You know, it's funny. You know, the Addy capsules that are currently available right now? I bought the Addy wards. I bought 4 Addy ward capsules, which is 20% more resistance, like all resistance. And because, first of all, it was the cheapest Addy capsule. So I really just need it for the 2.5% potency, right? But yeah. I was like, you know what? I might as well get the 20% resistance with 4 of those. That gives me 80% more resistance, all res, right? And I was just like, you can't go wrong with all res. That was my logic when going into the snow region. Because, you know, I knew for a fact that damage over time as well as freezing effects are going to be a thing in the snow region. And I'm pretty sure that if you get frozen, like, it's going to be extremely detrimental to your gameplay. Like, you're probably going to die if you get frozen. That's how I think.
Yeah, there's no anti or soul atomizer to heal statuses, as far as I know, either.
Exactly, right?
Mags can't do it for you either.
Yeah, like, you know, techers can't cleanse you. You don't have an item that can cleanse or, like, remove negative effects. So
that is so weird.
Right? I find it super weird that that's the case, but, you know, if it is like that, then I'm just going to build super resistance, right? I'm still gonna go a slightly more balanced build, like more damage and HP, but with just a crap ton of resistances, and just be like, yo, this cold stuff, I ain't scared because I have like 90%, you know, elemental resistance. Hit me, I don't care.
Yeah, imagine you have so much resistance that the cold weather starts to heal you.
Oh, that, dude, can you imagine if the game actually allowed you to do that? Like, you can go build so much of a specific stat that it just does the reverse to you. Like, you build so much defense that, you know, you start reflecting damage back to the mobs or something.
Like, yeah, I live here in this snowy tundra region. This is my home.
All right, so I got one last question before we need to end the podcast, and that is lifesteal. Lifesteal on weapons. What do you think about it in NGS? Do you think they should add it or not? What are your thoughts?
I don't think it's necessary anymore because of the way the rest assigns work. Kind of just run around and pick it up. Anyone can use them, and there's no animation when you use them either. So I don't think with the rest assign system, I feel like they won't ever add lifesteal to the game at all. I think.
Oh, interesting. That's actually very surprising. So I have a theory, or I have like a prediction that I would like to see for the Braver class specifically. I want to see a weapon series that gives you the ability to lifesteal. So whenever you hit an enemy, you gain back 5 HP or 10 HP, or whenever you kill an enemy, you get a percentage back of your maximum HP back. But the downside of this weapon is it's quote unquote cursed, and you lose HP every 10 seconds or every 20 seconds, just like in the pyramid.
Okay, I like that. That sounds fun.
Right? So it's like, it's a super high damaging weapon where it reduces maybe your defenses and HP drains you, but every time you kill an enemy, you get a percentage of your HP back. And so it's super, you know, attack oriented, where it's like, yeah, you gotta keep killing, and you gotta play perfectly, and it rewards you for that as the weapon, maybe the weapon gets stronger each kill that you get, and whenever you don't take a hit. But if you get hit once, you lose all the bonuses, all the damage bonus. Like, you know, I want something similar to that.
That sounds fun.
Yeah, right?
That sounds cool. Yeah. See, yeah, we need weapons like that. We need weapons like that in the game.
So, like, I'm thinking that, yo, we should get a weapon series that has lifesteal on it, but has, like, some crazy penalties. but is worth it because it gets stronger when you get more kills or something along those lines. But I don't think that we're going to get lifesteal as like an augment itself, right? That you just pop into your weapon and boom, you're done, you have lifesteal. I think that would be a little bit upon like lazy design, sort of. That's my point of view. But I would definitely love to see a weapon similar to that, where it gives you lifesteal at the cost of something. Okay, now for the last question, because we're really running out of time. But with the introduction of Kavaris, we see that we get 2 6-star weapons, right, from the interview. We got like the Chevelle weapons, or it's like SCH something, which will actually give us additional damage against non-boss enemies. That's the potency of that weapon. And then we have the Evil Eclipse weapons, which give us an insane amounts, or 100% PP regeneration when we do a successful sidestep. But they say that at the very end that they are working on new 6-star rarity weapons, which will require us to have both of those weapons. What's your take on that?
Oh, interesting. I would imagine you would eventually combine those 2 weapons. That's something we did pretty often in the base game, where like, you know, you have one weapon and maybe you combine it with something else or some other materials, and then the potentials get like fused together. Because that definitely sounds like those 2 potentials, it sounds like, you know, you would use the one that has more PP recovery against the boss, right? Because you'll be probably doing step dodges against the boss. And then the other one is just more damage against mobs, right? And which you're usually not landing step counters on mobs, you're just like killing him and running to the next one, right? So that definitely sounds like 2 potentials you'll like shove together into one weapon. I think that sounds like something that could happen.
Yep, that's my thoughts exactly. But I want to bring to everyone's attention is the Relic Weapon series. So they never announced the Relic Weapon series when Retem was released. Do you think we're going to be getting a Relic Weapon series 2.0 for the Kavaris region?
Like a recolor, or like something with like another potential?
Like something that is equally as rare and as strong as the Relic series. But like, yeah, just totally different potential. It doesn't have to be called the Relic series, but like something that is on the same level as that Relic weapons or the Relic series. Do you think we'll see it?
I would like to see something like that, because it just gives you like something else to hunt, and it makes it interesting too, because then like, you know, maybe there's another like competitive potential against the new weapons, and then, you know, you're thinking about what weapons to use. Thinking about that stuff's always interesting, right? So I hope there is something like that. That'd be cool.
Yeah, I agree. I think I'm personally in the camp that there will be a Relic series for the Kavaris region, like an equivalent. But I think that it is also going to be a craftable weapon, like or maybe an exchangeable weapon where it's like relentless training. You have to complete it to the end, and maybe you get it for free, but it's a non-tradable version. Or you farm enough of like a specific token or specific boss in order to exchange it. I think it's going to be a thing, but it's going to be a lot more obtainable than compared to the Relic weapons right now, where it's like, yeah, just farm at the 0.01% drop rate, you know?
You seem very convinced that Sega's really like hiding their hand from us, huh? They're really not showing us everything.
You know, I always crack the joke with my chat and with my YouTube comments that every day I wake up, I make my coffee with a healthy dose of copium, and I'm good to go every single day. So I do have a lot of positive thinking, and for NGS, I do believe that NGS is going to become better over time, and you know, it is already a lot better than the original release, right? With the Retem region, it was clearly a huge improvement over the Alio region. And now with the Kavaris region, from what we've seen from the interviews, I have very high hopes and expectations. Because, you know, when the Kavaris region, when they said that they were going to be releasing it soon and they're giving us like trailers and stuff, I was already, you know, there was no excuse for Sega to mess this up. because they've had an entire year, right? So when the Aleo region released, they immediately saw where they needed to work on, where they messed up on. The Retem region came out, but they were already working, like, you know, the Retem region was almost done already when the Aleo region came out. They were just doing some final touches. So, you know, a lot of things were already set in stone. So I was like, okay, you know what, I'll you know, I won't jump down your throat and give you a lot of crap for this. But for the Kavaris region, they've had a full year to work on it. You know, I was like, okay, Sega, you guys can't mess this up. There's no excuses. And from what I've seen so far from the developer interview, it's like, okay, you know, they are working on the things. They have addressed a lot of the things that I've had concerns about. And so I have very high expectations. Maybe a little bit too high, sure, but I would much rather, you know, go in with very wishful thinking and then see what they have and be like, yo, that's super cool and stuff like that, you know?
Yeah, with the Hiro Arai interview that came out recently, they definitely talked about a lot of the issues that people are talking about recently as well, so they're definitely, like, listening, and they seem to be on top of it, so that's really good. No complaints there.
All right, GM, do you have any final thoughts before we wrap things up?
Nothing really. Thank you for having me on again. I really appreciate it. It's always fun to talk and hang out.
For sure, for sure. All right, so that is going to be the end of the podcast. Before we sign out, I will hand over the floor to GM for any shout outs or, you know, stuff that he wants to do, plugs, socials, whatever. So yeah, GM Custom, the floor is yours.
Thanks again to Caro for having me on. You can find me at twitch.tv/ExeCustom, and my Twitter as well. And pop in and hang out, and maybe we can talk and play.
All right, cool. So as usual, all of GM Custom Socials will be in the description below. So for all you lazy people, you can just click and make sure to subscribe, follow, do all that stuff. Because GM Custom, you stream almost every day, is it?
Almost.
We'll chalk
you'll
it
see
up
me
to...
on. You'll see me on.
Yeah. Oh, almost every day. Okay. Special thanks to all the members for supporting the channel. It really means a lot to me. Thank you again. Anyway, that's it for today's episode of Arks Trash. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, I would appreciate a like and a subscribe. And we'll see you guys tomorrow. Bye.
Bye.
Can I say except you're welcome? For the heels, the